What's up everybody, Coach Mills here, coming at you with a brand new Valorant video, and with Champions underway, we're seeing some truly epic matches between some top teams, and when watching them, we can learn tons of actionable tips that we can apply to our own games in order to improve dramatically. So we're going to be breaking down some highlights and some tips and tricks that we find while VOD reviewing. But you got to go to the GameLeap website right now if you want more high quality content like this, in-depth analysis, deep dives, and VOD reviews. You got to go check it out right now down below. But without further ado, let's jump into the video. So I want you to see this right here, and Zom specifically has a ghost pistol. He's gonna smoke off this choke right here, and he's going to spray this angle down this way, spraying towards the door, towards button. The reason that he can do this with really low risk is because he has a silenced weapon, right? A silenced weapon, the tracer's not going to be seen on the other side. So while enemies can kind of get an idea where the bullets are coming from, they don't have a perfect idea of where it's coming from. They're not going to directly see it. If you were using a Sheriff or a Classic or a Frenzy, enemies would be able to return fire, and this could be really, really risky. You know enemies are funneling through here, but being able to basically get damage on them for free, and of course his crossover placement's on point here, and he manages to clear up a kill. It's definitely really, really good. And also, right after he gets that kill, he's going to relocate himself, and he's doing this on purpose because enemies can kind of get some information about where he was because of the angle in which he shot. So because he moved, he's not getting killed immediately. And that's just something to keep in mind, especially when you're a controller and you're playing a smoke-based character. Being able to utilize silenced weapons to get a lot of free damage out of chokes and things like that, that's really, really good. But that being said, he does make a little bit of a mistake here that gets him killed. And the mistake that he makes, even though the information is not perfectly known, is that he doesn't think about the fact that the enemy has a Sage that is still alive. Now, the Sage walls from his smoke. And look, the Sage just rose herself up here. And what's going to happen is he's holding this smoke, not knowing that the Sage is up here, capable of peeking him. So right here, if we look at this frame right here, he's actually going to get peeked at the top of the smoke because the Sage is up here with a wall. And that's something that you have to be really careful of, especially on any choke point. If the enemy has a Sage, is that they can swing, peek it from up top at any time. And I'm sure that this has happened to you in your games as well. So it's something to definitely keep note of. And it catches Zoms completely off guard here, where he could have got, you know, that free kill and then try to play with retake with his team. And, you know, Sentinels probably would have won, but he ends up getting traded out for free here. Then the Sage just gets to leave and get that free value. Now, I do want to talk about something else here that's really interesting. Tens has a Sheriff, and you might be wondering, why would you buy a Sheriff? What is the big plus side to buying a Sheriff on that first round? Well, there's a couple things that you need to consider. First, he is Jet, and Jet's most powerful ability is by far the dash. Being able to potentially challenge an angle and dash away is very powerful, especially when you have a one-tap weapon, and you can still roll all these people that are buying light armor. Now, the next thing is the wall bang ability, and that's what he tries for here. So you're going to see what happens when the enemy starts planting. They hear the plant, and he's actually spamming default plant zone. So it gets pinged by his allies. You see the ping here, and he's spamming that default plant zone. So he's spamming this, and this is normally where people plant because it has some amount of cover, right? You have this as a giant obstruction, you have this wall, and it's a quote-unquote safe positioning. However, you see that Furia actually has the counter to this, right? They know that that could happen, and they take site control. So they're not worried about hell. They're not worried about here or up here in this corner. They know that the enemy is all the way up here. And so he can plant in an untraditional spot, and that kind of insulates him from this type of play. And that's something to keep in mind. Just because this is the safest thing doesn't mean you should always plant there, especially when more and more players are learning lineups and different ways to contest the point, or maybe they want to use Orbital Strike or Hunter's Fury, whatever. Simply taking more site control and then planting in an untraditional spot or an unorthodox spot is going to allow you to connect with that stick far more. And if they would have just planted default here, Tens could have absolutely rolled that person, but as is, he didn't really get that much value with his Sheriff. So one's going to take Hell, one's going to take Gen, or there's actually two, one Gen, one by door, and then there's also a turret, and then one B main. So they're pretty spread out, but they're holding each other's crosses. It's really good defensive positioning. Now this guy gets caught lacking and gets destroyed by Tens. And this is the unfortunate part. It would actually be far better if Tens was the one to keep facing out because he has the most lethal weapon. And if he gets another kill, he gets another dash. So there's super high reward in it. But because no one else shoots this dart, you know, he doesn't get to challenge out here. He actually looks up and tries to kill the dart, gets scanned, and gets, you know, sprayed down, because that's what he's trying to focus for. And that's really one of the costs involved when you buy a sheriff on that first round, right? Because normally, if you're a Jet and you have a smoke in that first round, you can just flick and cover up that recon with the smoke. And he didn't have that option. Now, would he have been able to, you know, destroy that Sage with a headshot? Let's see what health total she was at before he just, you know, no, he actually wouldn't have been able to kill her if he didn't have a sheriff. So, you know, there's pros and cons with every weapon choice. So this is a really key point here where Sentinels make a key mistake. So they should have been up in advantage when Zombs got that pick, but then Zombs got killed by the Sage wall, and now they're up in life again. So they should have a pretty big advantage here, but they never clear hell. They clear one angle hell, but they don't think about the possibility that there's another hell. Dapper ends up dying and gets killed, and now it's a 2v2 scenario. And Mason is putting a ton of pressure from B main, like a lot. You know, Sentinels is really focusing on him really hard, but they never fully cleared hell. They never fully cleared hell. So Sentinels forces an engagement here, and if he wins this engagement, then it's all good, but he ends up losing it. And then the enemy is very weak. So now Sick is in a really bad situation where he knows someone's B main, and he actually has a heavy suspicion someone is rapping. And the reason he thought that is because he thinks hell is clear, but it was never fully cleared. So this is the most likely place that they would actually be in, and it was not fully cleared. So because he, you know, he flashes, he holds for that. He's holding for hell again. He flashes B main. He challenges hell again, heaven again. He just basically, that one simple lack of clear on hell basically completely changed how he played this, and it basically made it impossible for him to clutch this up. So, you know, looking at this from before, it looked almost impossible for Sentinels to lose. They had many opportunities to just, like, you know, slam dunk this. And the other team managed to, you know, pull through with a tiny bit of mistakes on the part of Sentinels. So it's really important. You know, Sentinels is one of the best teams, if not the best team in the entire world. But it doesn't mean that there's not room to improve and things that we can learn and take from their mistakes and, you know, the good things they do and the bad. Because there's no team or player that is individually perfect or, you know, perfect together. This is actually 2 rounds later. Furia takes that again. And then now we're in a follow-up round where Sentinels is actually buying, they have weapons, and Shazam has an Odin here, and he's doing the classic Sova spam the wall strategy. And the enemy team is actually, they have not that great of guns, right? If you look at them, they're heavily bonusing. They're going to be super rich in the next round. But I really wanted to emphasize how they engage here, because I think they engaged really well. And a lot of people have trouble engaging this B site, especially when there's Cypher stuff set up and Sova spraying through the wall and things like that. So right off the bat, what I love the most is, so the dart goes out and the dart's going to hit over here in this corner. And right when it does, as it's going out, honestly, Jet is going to updraft first because you can't dash through trips anymore. So she's going to updraft and dash because she's trying to get up and over any trips that are down. She doesn't want to get caught, because if she gets caught, she's going to get sprayed. It's basically instant death. Doesn't matter if there's smokes down. If you get caught by any trap wire, you're 100% dead, but you still got an entry, right? So updraft, dash. The dart is going to force enemies to either react to the dart or back off. And then watch this positioning that the enemy Jet gets it. She's right here. She's holding this lane, and this is something that's super good because a lot of times people on site will retreat to this lane and jiggle peek from this lane down back this way, right? I'm sure you've seen it many times in your ranked games, but being able to take this aggressively, and I really want to emphasize here that this is why I think that having an initiator, especially someone like Sova with an aggressive character like Jet, is very powerful for ranked. If you're looking for a dual partner to take it to your games, this is probably one of the best dual partners you can have, because you get to do really crazy powerful executes like this, right? If there's an enemy, if there's enemies tucked in here, they're dead. If there's an enemy going lane, they're dead. You have so much capability here, and you get to just completely forego any cypher trips or anything like that. Really, really strong. Puts a lot of pressure on Shazam that was hoping for more time to spray through the wall. But because this execution happened so fast, he can't spend his time spraying anymore because he could get wrapped by the Jet. So now all of that potential wallbang value that he could have gotten is gone. Right? And remember, Sentinels has a big gun advantage here. So they need to try to leverage that. But this play, this aggressive play, is a higher risk play. But if it pays off, you get to overcome even a big economy of disadvantage. I also like how this Jet is not pushing through here. He's holding outside the smoke. He's trying to just create team. Just him being here positionally is creating a lot of space for his team because he knows all these angles are clear because he's there, right? And so his teammates can push in, not focusing on every single corner and every single angle. But if this Jet pushes forward and dies, now all the space is just gone. There's no more space. So him just existing there is really good. Unfortunately, when you get put in that situation where you're being wrapped by a lot of people and people are wide swinging, you know, you're at a pretty big disadvantage with something like Odin. That is the big reason why it's still questionable whether or not you buy an Odin in general, right? I'm not saying it's not powerful, it is, but in certain scenarios, it's a lot less flexible than having a rifle, right? If he had a rifle here, I think he would be a lot better off than having an Odin because you need to be quick and you need to be able to jiggle and move around, and that, you know, that wind up, that slower rate of fire that winds up is not really what you need in that situation. And you know, up against Deagles in particular, the Odin really lacks because you want to crouch, you want to be stationary, and they can just one-shot headshot you. So now we're in a situation where there's 2 kills, you know? Sentinels had huge gun advantage here, and there's already 2 kills that went off. And a lot of that was due to the space that was created by the Jet and the Sova together. The enemy has to push into this point, and Furia has the Odin now. It's not looking good, but still, it's going to be incredibly difficult to win this at this point. Yeah, it's basically, it was just basically impossible at that point. And that was just like a masterclass in execution. I really like how they did that. I really liked how they played that eco. And I think that a lot of these strategies are not hard to incorporate in your game as long as you have like one person that is willing to work with you or just a partner. And just as a rule of thumb, just by yourself, doing proactive plays like that create tons of space as well. You don't 100% need someone to engage with you because the defense is going to be, you know, less consistent, less set up perfectly. But let's break down a little bit more here. So now we're in a situation where Sentinel's still on defense, but now Tens is holding. He has knives and he's holding B site with an operator. So he does barely, man, that shot was so close. And it's really unfortunate right here. It's a little bit unlucky that he held this for so long and he just repositioned. And look at that jiggle. Look at that jiggle. It was so good, actually. The enemy Jet altered his body hitbox midair. If we really break that down in slow motion, so, you know, he's looking like he's jumping in a fixed position. So from Tenz's point of view, it's just a simple flick. But then his body moved at the last moment in order to make it much harder to hit that shot. And then now Tenz dashes back. Unfortunately, he catches this corner, but he's gonna smoke and then he's gonna updraft out of here. Really good use of his updraft in order to get out and live. This is really why, now Chamber as well, but this is really why, you know, Jet is, before Chamber, one of the only characters viable with the operator, because there's not a single character in the game, you know, that could have got out in the same way besides Chamber that has existed or existed in this tournament. So it's really the reason why Jet and Chamber are like the only viable oppers from a high level point of view. I'm really just impressed with this Jet overall because like Tens of course is going to be holding here, you know, holding with a close angle. He hasn't heard a drop or anything like that. He hasn't had enough time to completely run away. So in order to peek this without dying, he's gonna updraft and dash behind him. And if Tens is zoomed in, it's just basically impossible to hit that. And it's just a clean up here. Complete clean up. Plays updrafts here, plays on this little tight corner. And yeah, just while they're crossing through, gets a kill there. And just a clean up here. And you know, the crazy thing about this game is that Sentinels actually come back and win it. But I really wanted to showcase these first 5 rounds, or, you know, these 4 rounds that we broke down. Because, you know, at this point, these engages have been really, really clean. A lot of the plays were really good, and I think there was a lot that we could learn from the way that the executes happen and different tips and tricks that I broke down. Honestly, I could break down so many different games. I could break down this whole game, but it would take forever. I mean, we're at, you know, 15 minutes already breaking down very little of the game, if I'm being honest, but there's just so much value in every single play that these pro players are making. But definitely let me know if you like this kind of content. I want to do more VOD reviews like this, free flow VOD reviews, and I definitely want to break down some more where, you know, Sentinels are dominating. I feel like I always break down Sentinels just smacking people, so I wanted to break it down from the other end right now. But I'm going to be doing more, and there's a lot more I could break down. Let me know what game you want me to break down below. Do you like more individual breakdowns or the overarching strategy? Let me know down below, and go to the GameLeap website if you like more in-depth content just like this. But thank you so much for coming by. Hope you enjoyed the video. I love your faces, and I'll see you next time.